Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ora Premanande Haribo. Okay, on page 1 we'll do the introduction. Okay, page 1 of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Introduction. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakans Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, chapter 7. Page, well, text 3, page number 348. Okay. Together. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api seranam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Text 4. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kang mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yang me bina prakriti ashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Text 5. Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedang dharjate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mine, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Text 6. Etadyonini bhutani sarvani tyupadaryaya aham kritsnasya jagata prabhava pralayastata. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both its origin and dissolution. Text 7. Mata parataram nanyat kinchirasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre maniganaiva. Conqueror of wealth, O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Text 8. Asoham apsu konteya prabhasmi sashi suryayo anava sarva vedeshu shabdha ke purusham nishu. O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Text 9. Punyo gandha prithivyam cha tejas chasmi vibhavaso jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapas chasmi tapasvishu. I am the original fragrance of the earth, and I am the heat and fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penance of all ascetics. Text 10. Bijamam sarva bhutanam vidiparta sanatanam Budhir budhi matam asmi tejas tejas vinamaham. Text. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. Text 11. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam Dharma virudho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Text 12. Ye chaiva sattvika bhava rajasastamhasaschaye mata eveti tan vidhi natva aham teshu te mai. All states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of this material nature. Text 13. Tribir gunamayer bhavar hebi sarvam nidam jagat mohitam na bidhanati mamebhya paramavyayam. Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me who am above the modes and inexhaustible. Okay, back to text 7. What? 3, sorry. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. There are innumerable living entities that are wandering the material universe, and each of them are situated in one of 8.4 million kinds of different bodies. Guna karma vibhagasa. The living entities acquire certain bodies dependent on the quality of the activities that they perform in their life after life. Some living entities, they have dog bodies, tree bodies, all kinds of different bodies. And out of the 8.4 million, 400,000 of those are human species. So getting a human birth is quite rare. And here Prabhupada in the purport, and Krishna actually in the text, identify what is actually the case, right? Because most of these living entities who have got these other bodies, they're concerned with stool, basically. They want to acquire more temporary things and advance in how they can enjoy these things and expand the variety of enjoyment for these temporary things. But the human life is actually meant for this. What is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth? Atato Brahma Jigyasa, actually the Vedanta, that's a Vedanta aphorism. And it means now is the time to inquire about the nature of the absolute truth. And the soul is actually seated in the heart of each. The soul is the living entity, but the embodied soul is seated within the heart of the body. And the outer covering is, if we turn to the next text, text 4, Krishna describes the outer covering. It's like a driver driving a vehicle. The ensnared living entity, he's covered in a variety of matter. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kang mano budhir eva cha ahankara. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. 5 of these out of the 8 are gross matter. It's all gross matter, but I mean, 5 of them like Bhumir apo nalo vayu, earth, water, fire, air. These are physical in the sense that we can, and ether, in the sense that we can kind of, they're more gross. I think everybody understands that. And then 3 of them, Kang, Mano, and Budhir, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are more subtle, but they're still Krishna's separated material energies. And so the living entity in the material world, he's encased in a mixture of these, depending on the kind of quality of his work and activities. And he spends his life trying to figure out or endeavor to extract pleasure from this dull matter, this dead matter. But the soul is actually so potent that it's seated inside the body, and it's this tiny little thing. It's so tiny. It's fractions of the tip of a piece of hair. So it's tiny. It's beyond quantum. It's beyond molecular. It's beyond all those things. But it's so potent that it illuminates the entire body. And actually, it's the source of the pleasure. It's the source of the experience. Once that guy leaves the body, that body is just dead. It's useless. So the soul is actually the thing that makes it useful. So the human form of life is meant to understand this topic. This is Vedic knowledge. What is the soul and where does the soul come from? Who am I and where do I come from? Okay, we can keep reading text 3 purport where we left off. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. The first 6 chapters of the Gita are meant for those who are interested in transcendental knowledge, in understanding the self, the supersoul, and the process of realization by jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and discrimination of the self from matter. So Krishna's he's been giving Arjuna various processes by which he can actually realize who he is, the nature of the soul. And so we've heard about these ones: Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga. But actually Krishna, he's saying that of all the processes of realization of the self, the yogi who abides in me with great faith and worships me in devotional service is the highest of them all. See, there are so many living entities that are trying to extract pleasure and all sorts of, and they're all actually looking for Krishna. That's what they all want. Why does any living entity do anything? Well, it's for pleasure, but who's the source of pleasure? Who's the reservoir of pleasure? It's Krishna, right? So these unfortunate living entities, they're trying to find that according to the body, the facilities that they've been given. But it's not very helpful. Because a dog, he can only really eat, sleep, defend, and mate. But we as humans, we can do those things, but we can also serve Krishna. We can form an attachment to Krishna. And that's the highest platform of knowledge that we can come to. Bhameti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. So these yogis, they're all trying to realize the absolute truth. And in fact, all living entities are trying to realize the absolute truth. But the yogis, the transcendentalists, they're actually on the right path. And of all those transcendentalists, the Bhakta is actually has attained perfection. One who worships Krishna with great faith and always abides in Krishna, always keeps Krishna in his mind, is attached to his service to Krishna. He's actually the highest of all the transcendentalists. Because the impersonalist, the Mayavadi, typically the Jnani, he's only got an impoverished view of the Lord. He sees the Lord as some impersonal substance. He artificially removes the Lord's inherent aesthetics from him. Right? He doesn't realize that the non-dual, supreme, absolute truth is inherently, simultaneously, it's indistinct, but it's also like Krishna. He's non-dual. We're actually reading the Garga Samhita, and it was talking about how Krishna, he's all of these other personalities, while also retaining his identity as the Supreme Lord. So, in one sense, he's the non-dual supreme whole, but at the same time, he's supremely distinct, meaning within him is a unlimited variety of spiritual bliss, transcendental bliss, relationship. And so the Jnani, he removes that from the absolute truth, and he's just left with Brahman. So he's identified Sat. He's identified with the eternal aspect of the Lord. But he's actually missed the bliss, the Ananda, which the Bhakta, he actually gets all of it. He gets the Sat, he gets the Chit, and he gets the Ananda. The activities of the Bhakta, although it appears like he may be engaging in certain material activities, he's not. He's actually engaging on the Brahman platform. So, sorry, let's keep reading. Krishna can be known by persons who are in Krishna consciousness. Other transcendentalists may achieve impersonal Brahman realization. for this is easier than understanding Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Person, but at the same time, he is beyond the knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. The yogis and jnanis are confused in their attempts to understand Krishna. Although the greatest of the impersonalists, Sripad Shankaracharya, has admitted in his Gita commentary that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but his followers do not even accept Krishna as such, for it is very difficult to know Krishna, even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Yes, Sripad Shankaracharya, he has written his prayers to Krishna. And he goes, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mate Mudha, Mate, something like that. Anyways, he says, just worship Govinda, you fools. Just worship Govinda. You're wasting your time. So, the king of the impersonalists, Sripad Shankaracharya, is even writing this. Just worship Krishna. It's pretty funny. But his followers do not accept Krishna as such. For it is very difficult to know Krishna, even though one has transcendental realization of impersonal Brahman. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the primeval Lord Govinda. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachid Ananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So Krishna, he's even Brahma. Brahma is glorifying Krishna in the Brahma Samhita. He's saying Krishna is Ishvara Parama. He's the supreme controller. He's got a form made out of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And he's unlimited. And he's the cause of all causes. Krishna is Bhagavan. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, every time, usually when Krishna says something, it's the text is written Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. That's for a reason, right? Because Krishna is Bhagavan, meaning he possesses all opulences to an unlimited degree. All 6 opulences: strength, beauty, knowledge, power, renunciation, fame. And every living entity, he's got some of these qualities, but not to the degree that Krishna has them. Krishna's got all of them on infinitely, unlimitedly. And he's got unlimited renunciation. The second anybody gets some kind of fame, some kind of power, some kind of beauty, tiny little drop, they become completely puffed up and they want to take advantage of this. But Krishna is supremely renounced. So this is Krishna, this is Bhagavan. Nobody else has got those qualities. Okay, it is very difficult for the non-devotees to know him. Although non-devotees declare that the path of bhakti or devotional service is very easy, they cannot practice it. If the path of bhakti is so easy as the non-devotees class of men proclaim, then why do they take up the difficult path? Actually, the path of bhakti is not easy. The knowledge of bhakti may be easy, but when it is practiced factually according to the rules and regulations, the speculative scholars and philosophers fall away from the path. Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Shruti Smriti Purana Adi Pancharatra Vidindina Haikantiki Harer Bhaktir Mutpatayai Vakalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, Narada, Pancharatra, etc. is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. It is not possible for the Brahmin realized impersonalist or the Paramatma realized yogi to understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the son of Mother Yashoda or the charioteer of Arjuna. Even the great demigods are sometimes confused about Krishna. Muyanti yat sudayaha mam tu veda nakaschana. No one knows me as I am, the Lord says, and if one does know him, then samahatma sudurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. Therefore, unless one practices devotional service to the Lord, he cannot know Krishna as he is. Tadvataha. Even though one is a great scholar or philosopher, only the pure devotees can know something of the inconceivable transcendental qualities in Krishna. in the cause of all causes, in his omnipotence and opulence, and in his wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Because Krishna is benevolently inclined to his devotees, he is the last word in Brahman realization, and the devotees alone can realize him as he is. Therefore it is said, Atha Shri Krishna Namari Nabhave Grayam Indriyai Sevanmukhi Jivaro Swayameva Spuratyada. No one can understand Krishna as he is by blunt material senses, but he reveals himself to the devotees, being pleased with them for their transcendental loving service unto him. Padma Purana. No one can understand Krishna as he is by the blunt material senses. It's not possible to see Krishna with your eyes. Your eyes are made out of ignorance and, other things. They're not Satchidananda. Krishna's form is Satchidananda. So you can't see him with your eyes. The eyes in your skull, the eyes in your physical material body, you can see him in certain ways, and he gives those ways a little bit later on in this. It's kind of like trying to taste something with your ears, like food. It just doesn't work like that. Trying to see God like that when you're not a devotee, through your false ego, your contaminated mind, contaminated intelligence, contaminated senses, trying to see Krishna, who's the supreme pure, this doesn't work. Can't do it. You can't smell music. You can't do it. It just doesn't work. But the devotee, he reveals himself to the devotees. Devotees, through this devotional service, they purify their senses, purify their intelligence, purify their mind, and like that they can actually be aware of Krishna. So we're just trying to be aware of him. We're just trying to be conscious of him, and we can do that. And that's how we can have a relationship with him. Because we're just aware of Krishna's existence, his presence, what he likes, what he doesn't like. You just be aware of him. That's it. Just like anyone else. Just respect and be aware. And he's given the process in Shastra. And Shastra is actually, it's non-different than the reality that it signifies. So Shastra, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, is signifying this absolute reality. And the text itself, the books that we have here, they're actually non-different from that reality. So we've got it. We've got access to it. We just have to be greedy. We have to open them up and, tear through them. And I want Krishna. Form some attachment to Krishna. Okay, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 compromise my separated material energies. The science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Svatvata Tantra. Vishnostu Trini Rupani Purushakyan Yato Viru Ekantu Mahatma Mahata Shastri Dvitiyam Thonda Sangstitam Tritiyam Sarvabhutastam Tani Gyatva Vimuchate. For the material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansions assume 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Shirodakashayi Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma, who is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. This material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these 3 Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the causes, purushas, controllers, and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalists, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in the Brahma Jyoti as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and the impersonalists accept the Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. So the Vaikuntha Lokas in the abode of the Lord himself. It includes everything that's within the Brahma Jyoti. Krishna is the source of the Brahma Jyoti, and much more. It includes variety. Variety within that Brahman platform. So you're not, lots of impersonalists like to say that if you think that God is a person, then actually that relationship is temporary, just like a relationship we have on the bodily platform. So there's a misconception. They think that illusion, that somehow variety is illusion, that form equates to illusion. But that's not actually the case. Because Krishna has form, but he's also transcendental. He's also the Supreme Person. The Paramama manifestation is a temporary, all-pervasive aspect of the Kshirodakashaya Vishnu. The Paramama manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. In the material energy, the principal manifestations are 8, as above mentioned. Out of these, the first 5 manifestations, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are called the 5 gigantic creations, or the gross creations, within which the 5 sense objects are included. They are the manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Material science comprises these 10 items and nothing more. But the other 3 items, namely mind, intelligence, and false ego, are neglected by the materialists. Philosophers who deal with mental activities are also not perfect in knowledge, because they do not know the ultimate source, Krishna. The false ego, I am and it is mine, which constitute the basic principle of material existence, includes 10 sense organs for material activities. Intelligence refers to the total material creation called the Mahatattva. Therefore, from the 8 separated energies, of the Lord are manifest the 24 elements of the material world, which are the subject matter of Sankhya, atheistic philosophy. They are originally offshoots from Krishna's energies and are separated from him. But atheistic Sankhya philosophers with a poor fund of knowledge do not know Krishna as the cause of all causes. The subject matter for discussion in the Sankhya philosophy is only the manifestation of the external energy of Krishna as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. There's so much nectar in these purports and I can't extract any of it. But maybe you guys can. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask.
I was going to ask how you were mentioning how we can't taste with our ears, but Krishna, with his, Krishna can do anything or any part of his. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna could do anything with his transcendental body. So I was just wondering if you know anything about that. Is it just as simple as that Krishna could taste with his ears because he looks over the
Yeah.
material nature and impregnates everything. So
Yes.
are we kind of envious that we can't do these things? Like, even if we don't know about Krishna, there is someone out there, Krishna, who can do anything, perceivable or imperceivable. And I'm wondering if deep down we know that, like, this puffed up thing is that we actually become puffed up because we know that we're actually so minuscule. I know it's kind of a hard question to answer. I'm wondering if you know anything about why we're so engrossed in this false ego willingly.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, Krishna, he can do anything with any part of his, he can do, so like he can run with his ears, or he can, something like that, taste with his eyes. Yeah, he can do that. He's not limited. And the soul, actually, the Jivadma, is not limited either. The senses, all of the senses exist within the soul as well, in their pure original state. I believe. I don't have scriptural reference, but I recall hearing that. Yeah, we're thinking that we're this limited body, right? It can only, it's useless, basically, unless you serve the Lord. But in one sense, there's one particular pastime. I'm not expert, so I'll just paraphrase. And if a devotee understands what I'm talking about, they can chime in. But where I don't remember the devotee's name, but he's offering sweet rice or something, or milk to the Lord, and he's checking to see if it's hot, and he burns his finger. So these senses, there's reality beyond the body, right? And so in the spiritual world, similarly, you can experience that. Yeah. And the devotees, the pure devotees, they do experience that. They're not so limited. I wish I had an example, more examples, but I don't. But thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Jai Keshava Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for your nice class, Prabhu. I was just going to mention that every day we sing the Brahma Samhita in the morning. Angani Yasha Sakalindra Vidriya Vitimanti. And that verse is saying that all of Krishna's limbs can do the things other limbs. So every day we're able to relish that point, that his body is fully transcendental, fully spiritual. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Radha's telling Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your wonderful class so far. So please forgive my ignorance. So on the purport, Prabhupada is speaking about the super soul. Now, the super soul is not eternal and is not manifest in the spiritual world. And so I'm just wondering, can you describe the super soul? And because sometimes I try to meditate on him as a super soul, and I just think okay, is he Krishna with his flute, folding his leg? So can you just talk about him in his super soul form a little bit for us? Thanks. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, super soul, the Paramatma. Actually, the object of yoga is actually to see the super soul within the heart, and Ashtanga yoga is that, and automatically that comes in bhakti. But the form of the super soul is not like the two-handed Krishna with the flute. It's actually Narayan with four hands: club, disc, conch shell, and lotus flower. And basically, the Jivadma, the self, the individual self, it pervades this body. But the super self, the super soul, Paramatma, it pervades all the bodies. That's basically that's the difference, yeah. As far as I understand it. So, the super soul, he's got eyes everywhere, he's got ears everywhere. Like that. And maybe one devotee might have some more to say on it. Thank you. Okay, devotees, thank you for tolerating me. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.